Hi everyone, today we're going to go over a bunch of key comics I've got multiple copies of. I accumulated over decades of collecting. I've been collecting comic books since the early 80s. Took some breaks, but I wanted to show you some comics that I've accumulated multiple copies of. This one is DC Spotlight. Some people feel like it's the first appearance of the Alan Moore Watchmen, and I think it also has Frank Miller's Dark Knight Returns. I feel more like it's an advertisement or promotion to get you to be interested in those comic books. So I wouldn't consider them first appearances, but if the collector market feels that way. This one, when I got it back then, this comic was free from the comic shop, so I didn't think it had much value back then. So I would use it to line the front of the comic boxes. So you know how comic boxes they're folded, and the comics in the front, if you don't pad that, it's going to damage the books when it presses against the front and the back of the box. So I used these kind of comics to line them. So that's one copy. So I have this copy here. I got it in double inside of Golden Age top loaders. If you can see, I have these stored inside a magazine bag with a bunch of other comic books because back then I didn't have a lot of money, so I try to save by storing comic books together. And you can see that there's a lot of foxing. Now, foxing and tanning are two different things. I believe foxing is caused more like I would think more like a fungus or a mold. I have to read that up, but tanning is actually like if you lay another book on top of this, you'll see tanning when the books are not sorted evenly. But foxing, I believe it's more like that. I have to read up on that. Maybe talk about it in another video. So that's 4 copies there. If I didn't show the back. And here's the 5th copy. Also with kind of that foxing all around. These don't have too many spine creases. There's some. But unfortunately, with all that foxing, so how many is that so far? That's 7. And the last one is this one, which I got signed by George Perez in the mid-'80s. I met George Perez a couple of times. He's a nice guy. When I attended a comic convention back when I lived in Houston, I wish I had bought some original art from him, but original art wasn't the thing it is today. This one's not too bad. Just got a little bit of foxing by Martian Manhunters. So that together, that's 6, 7, 8. I might have some more copies. I have to dig through other boxes. Okay, the next batch of comics, I only pulled out one, but I have about 10 of these Silver Surfer number 50s with the enhanced cover. So my understanding is, and if my memory is correct, I believe Silver Surfer number 50 was the first enhanced cover. Someone correct me if I'm wrong. And this started the boom with the in the early 90s with all the covers. And at one point, I remember this going up to be like $15, $20 at one time. But the story I wanted to tell you about this one, there's also a second and third printing. I might have a second or a third printing, but this is the first printing, in which I have 5, 10 copies. But when I was in college, I let a friend borrow $20, right? And instead of paying me back in, $20, he said, he's going to pay me back in comic books. But he said, I wasn't going to see that $20 again. And we were good friends, so I didn't think, $20 is going to go between friendship. So he let me pick out a bunch of Silver Surfer. To be fair, all the Silver Surfer comics that he let me pick out was worth more than $20. But I wasn't really big into comic books at that time. I had kind of quit, so I wasn't really wanting the comics. But I picked a whole bunch of these out. But the moral of the story, unless you know for sure someone's gonna pay you back when you let someone borrow money, you might just consider that money gone. That's the story behind this one. The next one I have is X-Men number 4 from the early 90s, 1991 or 1992, 1991. And this was like a dollar bin comic book for a very long time. I bought 2 originally. I believe I've gotten some more, but I can't find them at the moment. But I just want to show you. Once I find them, I'll show them maybe in another video. First appearance of Omega Red. He actually appeared for a little bit in a prison scene in the Deadpool 2 movie, but there's rumors about him. I forget what the rumors are, but maybe one of the television shows is going to have him. Yeah, but I was surprised when I checked back that this comic book was worth so much. And all these I had are pretty high grade copies. This one is actually I didn't think about it, but this one is direct edition. So I did not buy this one when it first came out. This one I must have accumulated later. But I have several copies of these. I'll need to find them and bring them to another video. This next one you'll recognize. The origin of Spider-Man's black costume, which is Alien. I have let me see, right now I'm showing you, I have 3 here, but I have a whole bunch of these. I accumulated them when I was a little kid. There's a dealer, he used to sell comic books for like 20 cents or 25 cents at comic book conventions, and I found a whole bunch of these. I have so many that about 10 years ago I did sell one on eBay for about $20-$25. It was probably at least 9.2, 9.4. Could be higher, but I sold it at, I think, a very fine plus. I had so many, and I knew I would regret it, but I had so many copies. A few years ago I did replace that one copy I sold with a CGC 9.8 about 4 or 5 years ago, and I ended up paying like $159 for it. And after I purchased it, I couldn't believe that I paid $159 for a comic book from the 80s. That's very abundant. But one of the reasons I bought it, because I was trying to accumulate a whole run of Secret Wars, the original Secret Wars, in 9.8 condition, just as a thing to do. But I have a whole bunch of these. When I find those, I'll bring them back and show you, just like with the X-Men number 4. And if I find any other comic books, I do have a whole bunch of other comics I have multiple copies of, especially from the 90s. I'll post those in another video. Okay, now we're getting to an interesting part of this video where I show you some Bronze Age book that I picked up as a lot a long time ago. When these comic books were like in nobody's wish list. I already have a copy of this in low grade even before I bought this lot. But these are, I would say, probably between 8.5 and 9.4. Maybe if they were pressed, they'd be a little better. So this is one copy, 2 copy, 3 copies, 4 copies, copy number 5, copy number 6. So there's 6 copies here. 6 copies here, including another one that I bought about 2-3 years ago in pretty nice shape. So I have at least 8 copies of this. Okay, lastly, I'm going to introduce this book here. The movie's coming out. When I bought these, I bought the Eternals and the Nova #1s from the same dealer. I remember I had to call him up. Back then, you had to pay, you know, by check or by sending cash. Since this was a comic dealer, I went ahead and called him up and just paid by credit card. So that was something I had to worry about, giving somebody your credit card number, you know, expiration, your name, by telephone. And you know, sometimes not all comic dealers, especially smaller ones, were always reputable. But this one worked out okay, you know, because sending them a check and a stamp to send it, and the time it takes for them to clear the check and then send you the books, you know, I could just spend a little more on a long distance phone call. Back then it was probably like 20-25 cents a minute. And I was able to get these books. So this is copy #1, #2, #3. Okay, put this aside. Copy #4, #5, #6. Copy #7, #8, #9, and then copy #10. And I also have my own copy before I purchased this. These lots here, that's not in very great shape. So there's 10 copies altogether here. Show you. You can see 10 copies. So I have one more, that's 11. The other interesting story I wanted to tell you was a long time ago. I also bidded on the original art for the entire comic book. I'm not sure if the cover was included. I think it was just the interior pages. And I won the auction, but the auction was reserved. I think it was it ended up being $8,000 for all, I don't know, 21 or 22 pages. But the seller was from England or so, and since it was reserved and he wanted to see if we can negotiate offline to sell it, I was kind of hesitant because you know, back then you send somebody money, they cash and don't send you stuff, you're out of luck really. So that deal never went through. It fell through. I always thought about, you know, what would have happened if I had purchased those, but then I also thought about, you know, what would happen if, you know, you send them, you know, a check for $8,000 and it gets cash and you don't get anything. But I wish I was able to buy those. You know, maybe if someone closer to where I lived at the time, I could have went and picked them up. But unfortunately, the seller was in English, which also, you know, I also know that Jack Kirby had a hard time getting some of his original artwork back. I don't know if that was just from his 60s and 50s and 40s stuff, but this is from the 70s, so he might have been able to get these back and sell those. So that also weighed on my mind, if he actually had the pages to actually sell, the seller at the time. Thanks for watching. I hope this video was enjoyable. I'm gonna bring some other videos along. Thank you.